Uh, any carryover, speaking defensively, were you seeing some of the same issues you had against, say, Purdue, or was it a matter of score and time left in the game? You get caught in a prevent defense. What would you characterize as the problems defensively on Saturday?
Yeah, we just didn't execute very well from the defensive end, and some of that. What does it come back to? Maybe too much we're throwing their way. Maybe it was just not a good day of them executing at the level that we expect them to execute at, and so in terms of how we go forward, we are looking at everything from that angle, from alignments to coverages to how we coach it, to our calling of defensive formations. So we're looking at everything, and we will make some changes.
You've got Central coming up this week. Has there been any particular reason that that's remained one MAC opponent you haven't had a lot of success against, both
Yeah,
personally and program wide? Not a real
yeah,
good record
yeah. I
there.
wished I had a good answer for you. They've been a good physical football team when we've played them, and you would think that would be a good matchup in that regard, but for some reason, we have not gotten it done, and so we get another opportunity. It's at home, homecoming weekend. Be a lot of excitement around. You just hope that excitement carries on over to the football field, and they have their mind in the game and on what they need to get done. And they've been a great team to work with. So I don't have any question about that being the case. They'll prepare very, very well. Right now we're doing some really good things. We just need to get a few things straightened out, and if we can get that done and play at the level that we're capable of playing at defensively, and continue to play at the level we're playing at offensively, and have our special teams still be an important part of wins, then we can have ourselves something.
Just overall, what's your thoughts on how the non-conference season went?
Um, okay. We played a Big Ten team. We played a Big 12 team. Obviously the game against Purdue was a difficult game for us, although it was a difficult 2 quarters really for us, and that made a huge difference in that game. If we'd have played like we played for 3 quarters, we'd have played that second quarter that way. We'd have had maybe a shot at the end, and so all in all, not bad. One loss in the non-conference play. We wanted 0 losses, but it's what it is. We move forward from here.
Also, just going off your running game, you had a season high 292 rushing yards. I guess what has it like been seeing, to see this kind of running game that you've established in the first 5 games?
Yeah. Well, we worked hard at establishing the running game in not only fall camp but spring ball. Our intent was to have a good running game. We have good backs coming back. We had a good share of linemen coming back, and we felt we could be a physical offensive line. So consequently, that can lead to a pretty good ground game. I know at the beginning of the year, there was some questions about, are we running the ball too much? Is this happening? Is that happening? We stuck to it, and I think it's played out pretty well for us. That's enabled us to put points on the board, and it also, as you look at it, as enabled us to be somewhat multidimensional. And we're getting very good quarterback play. That adds to it, obviously, offensively. But you look at the red zone, we're somewhere, in the top 20 at least in the red zone in the country, and so 27 times inside the red zone, scoring all but once is a symbol of being able to run the ball good. You can't get in the red zone, number one, usually, if you don't run the ball very good. And number two, once you get down there, you just can't throw, and think that you're going to come out with a good average in terms of how many times you score versus how many times you're in the red zone. So the running game has really added to what we're all about.
How much of the Central Michigan-Kansas game are you guys going to watch on film, just because that's a common opponent for you guys already?
We at this point in time in the season, 5 games in, you're breaking down every game. So we'll spend a lot of time on it as we do the other games.
And what's the update with Poppy White? I know you said 2 to 3 weeks a couple weeks ago. Is he progressing as scheduled?
Yeah, he's progressing, but he still has a cast on, so will not be available this week. But after that, we'll see how it plays out.
You said you learned a lot about this team past couple of weeks. What sort of specifically did you mean by that?
Well, they're able to win games when they're tight games, and obviously that's huge. I've learned that they're a good fourth quarter team. That's what we've set out to be, and so we've been a very good fourth quarter team, and obviously with Easter and the 2 overtimes, we were very good in both those overtimes. So I like that makeup with our team. They never quit. They believe they're going to win. That's huge in the sport of football. There's a lot of other things that come into play. We've got great leadership. That is shown through the course of our first 5 games. We've had some depth. That depth has shown to some degree in the course of our 5 games. Although, every team as the season goes along starts to get more nicks and bumps and bruises, and all of a sudden you find a guy that can't play this week, or 2 guys or 3 guys or 4 guys, and then all of a sudden that can change the makeup of your football team. But our guys still believe that no matter how we sit, that we always have a shot, and so I love that in our guys.
And I was just wondering also with the targeting calls, if you'd gone back and watched those on film, if you just sort of had any thoughts of seeing those, re-examining them.
It was really difficult to determine from our film. We'd love to have the replay film. There was only 4 cameras in that game, but that's better than our 2 cameras, and so they were able to zero in and get much closer shots at times, and so you couldn't tell from ours, but it was not a drive the helmet into a guy. I don't think either one was, as I heard the officials talk to me, classified as a head ramming kind of foul that would throw you out of a game. One was described as a forearm. So, whether it's one thing to deliver a forearm to the head, which would certainly be a foul. It's another thing to be going in on a tackle and be off balance and hit a guy with an arm that's not a deliberate blow. To me is a separate situation. But you can't tell. You just can't tell. So we live with it. We move on.
So it's not necessarily something to address with either of those guys that you thought they did something wrong? And
No. You can tell that neither one was intentionally trying to deliver a blow to put a guy in danger. That was not the case on either one of those.
Could you tell us what you saw out of Quentin Pulling on film this week? He had 19 tackles. Is he looking more like himself at the way he was running around Saturday?
By the way, we counted 20 tackles off the field, but he's an amazing young man. He's bright, he's athletic, keeps himself on the field. The hip pointer that he had, many guys would have never been able to come off of that and play in that next game the way he did. And then he played in the one after that, and then has 20 tackles, and so he's he's special in a lot of ways, and I'm really kind of amazed at his whole makeup and how he looks at the game, how he plays the game, how tough he is. It's all top of the line.
Last 2 weeks, you played a double overtime game. Again, speaking of your defense, played a double overtime game Saturday. UMass ran 95 plays. Is there a concern about fatigue with the defensive unit? Will you try to look to add more reps for depth guys?
Yeah, you do get concerned when you're getting those kind of reps, and we have looked at that. We are going to address that. Sometimes you just get caught where, you don't have the depth to do anything. But we've got some good young players that are going to be continue to get work, and we're going to try to use some of them in this game.
I'm kind of scattershot, throwing different things at you here, but defensive end Austin Conrad. Can you describe what kind of benefits he's given you guys as a late convert over to defensive end from tight end, a guy that I certainly wasn't expecting to get reps, and here you are kind of leaning on him as one of those depth options.
Yeah, great job by him being able for us to have the confidence to put him on the field with all the more work he's had at rush end, and he's done an excellent job. He keeps getting better with every snap. We have confidence in him now to put him in at any time to get reps. So he really adds to the depth at rush end, and that's an area that we needed to have some depth at because of what's transpired from fall camp to now at that position. He's bright. He is physical. One of the stronger guys on our football team. When you go in and start looking at the weight room charts in terms of his strength on benches and leg strength and the rest of it. He's a very powerful guy. So the transition was not all that difficult for him. At times you'd like to have him on offense, but it's where it's at, and he great attitude to make that move. Very unselfish attitude.
Central Michigan's rolling with a graduate student transfer quarterback, Shane Morris. I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. What has he allowed them to get play a different style of offense this year? They're more about spread out, and
you're right. Yeah.
They used to be more power oriented.
Yeah, you're right. They'd have a fullback and a tailback back there, and they'd run a power offense at you, come off of it with play action passes, and spread out every now and then. But now they're spread out. They're all over the field, so he gives them that ability to do that. He's a big guy, a big, strong guy. So in that regard, he's able to sit in the pocket and take some hits at times and keep himself in the game and keep playing at a high level. He's got some tall receivers to throw to. They've got a good offense right now, and it's an offense that we'll have to contend with in terms of the passing game, and they run enough out of it to where you cannot forget about the running game.
To Jason's point, with them, how they were the last couple of years of running a little bit more with maybe kind of an old school sort of offensive approach. Now that you see some of the spreads, obviously more and more often, the fact that they've shifted to that spread a little bit more, does that help in preparation for them? Because you just see them in that style a little bit more often?
You do see that style more often, so obviously it can help in preparation. But, if you look at different teams that do spread you out, there's some differences in those teams. And, some guys will bunch quite a bit and do a lot of crossing routes and those kind of things off of it. And some guys will just spread you out and put the wide out all the way out there, so he's just one-on-one. So there's different styles, obviously, of spread offenses. They do a combination of it. they'll put guys together sometimes and not have really wide splits. Sometimes they'll have 3 tight ends on the field, but their tight end may be split out there as a wide receiver, and then they just lob him the ball. He's, what is he, 6'7" or something, and he jumps up and makes great catches. And you know, your itty bitty DB has a little bit of trouble stopping those throws sometimes. You know, so it's you know, it's what it is. You try to make some adjustments per every team's offense, but you got to be careful not to get caught up in making so many adjustments that your execution on the football field is not good.
I think Ohio's doing a Hall of Fame induction this weekend, and one of your guys will be inducted. Could you?
Calvin McRae?
Yeah. Could you just tell us about Calvin and what he meant? He was
Yeah.
one of the very first guys you dealt with
Yeah,
here, and
yeah.
what it's like to see him kind of
Yeah.
return.
He ended up being a great running back for us. And you know, when we first got here and looked at Calvin, and I thought, well, okay, you know, it's probably going to be a good running back. But he really turned into a special running back for us. And he was kind of amazing, you know. I mean, there have been faster guys, but he had the knack of finding the creases and then accelerating off of those creases, and had enough speed to you know, make the big play for you. And he was tough.